Greetings, podcast listeners. Jordan River here, back with more Growcast. Today, we're jumping right into it. Make sure you're subscribed and go to growcast.com where you can catch this episode now on video as well. Thank you for listening and enjoy the program. Hello, podcast listeners. You are now listening to and watching Growcast. I'm your host, Jordan River, and I want to thank you for tuning in again today. We're jumping right in with this episode, and you can now catch the episode on video. Go to growcast.com/episodes or find us on the YouTube app. All episodes will now have a video component going forward. I finally did it, folks. Today we have great friend of the show, natural farming expert, and co-host of the Natural Farming Immersive. What a great educator he is. You know him, you love him. OKCalyxx is back on the show. How you doing, OKCalyxx?
What's going on, Mr. Jordan, my good friend? What's there going on, everybody listening out there in Growcast land, too?
Welcome.
I'm glad you guys are here.
Thank you, man. Thank you for being here. We love hearing from you. You know, today we're going to dive into more natural farming talk. This is something that me and Calyxx could talk about for hours. The listeners love it. And we're really going in deep today. We're talking about chickens. We're talking about springtime. We're talking about using those fan leaves. A lot going on right now. But Calyxx, how's it going on the farm right now and moving into spring? What are you doing, and what tips do you have for people as they enter the spring mind state?
Well, right now, everything is popping off. It's rocking. It's feeling good. I've been keeping up on my IPMs. I've been keeping up on getting the JLF in. I've been watching the rain and getting some dry amendment down before the rain comes. Just trying to play the garden is what I'm doing. Enjoying it, having a good time, kind of playing the weather, you know, like tonight. It's kind of cool. Not bad at all. Feels good. I've got my night lights out, all my spotlights on my plants for keeping them in veg, you know, getting them a little extra light at night. But the birds chirping, the frogs are croaking. It's beautiful. This is the time of the year that I love, when my garden is just giving birth to this beauty and symmetry and all the plants that I've, worked hard. I've been working since October on some of these plants that are out in that garden, So been getting that ready. I've got, let's see, did some potato towers this year, which is a new thing, which is when you go vertical growing potatoes. You just kind of use like a big tomato cage, if you will, and use some straw, leaves, mowed grass. There you go. And you just layer in some dirt on top of that, put your potatoes down, and then cover it up with a little more dirt. And then you go some straw, leaves, and grass again, just a mixture of that. So you're going soil and then yard scraps. It could be anything, but I packed those towers to the very top. And this photo is a few days ago, and they've probably packed down a little bit lower, and the potatoes have actually shot out better. I put them right along the fence because it's the first time I did this, and they're not getting enough sun, so those potatoes are getting real leggy. But I have an idea of next year doing those in my no-tills, going vertical with my potatoes, and that's going to save me a lot of space.
That's awesome. What we're looking at there is basically like chicken wire rolled up into a tall cylinder. And then, like you said, I've seen people do this. They grow them vertically, and you get a big, big yield. What are you utilizing those potatoes for other than eating them? Are there big uses for potatoes in your KNF and JADAM practices?
Yep. What we'll do is a lot of the smaller potatoes that you might not eat. I mean, it depends on the amount of potatoes, Jordan. If I don't get many, I'm eating every single potato. But if I have some that kind of had a split in them, got a little rot on them, whatever, we go into making JMS because the weather's starting to get warm now. The potatoes aren't ready yet. They still got some weeks to go. But you would make Jadon microbial solution with it. Just put those old potatoes in water, let it sit there. In a few days, you're going to see all these little bubbles come up. It's that simple. Now, there are way better instructions and methods on how to get a good JMS going quickly. But literally just stomping on a potato, getting it squashed like that, throwing it in a bucket, water, putting it out in the sun. If the days are 90 degrees, you've got JMS coming in about 2 days.
And we'd covered that in another episode. You've talked about, the powers of JMS and how easy it is, how it's one of your favorite ones to get started because of the ease. But I will say we have the Natural Farming Immersive. Tickets are on sale now, growcast.com/events. Best class of the year. We'll talk about that later. But first, I want to cover something a little bit more strange. Okay, Calyxx. Now, my understanding is you sent me a video here. You were very excited about this. You've been following critters around your property. I love how much you incorporate wildlife and nature. But you said that you were tailing this beaver, okay? We've actually got footage of the beaver sighting right now. We're watching it
Boom, there
on
he
the
is.
video podcast. And there he is in the water. That's a big, mean beaver. What the heck are you doing following a beaver around through the woods and harassing this beaver? What possible use could you find from following around this muskrat?
Well, we come to
beaver.
find out, had a name tag on it. It said Winona's, so we figured out whose it was. But there are bigger beavers out there, not just Winona's big brown beaver. But there's a fatter beaver out there, guys. My neighbor has seen it. It's a monster. Like, I don't think I could get my arms around it. It's a beast, dude. Anyway, there's a couple beavers out here, and it started about 3 years ago when I noticed some beavers had actually moved in this river area because a couple trees had fallen and a few years back, and it had dammed up a bit, and it just attracted them. But we see these beavers in the backyard. Actually, the little beavers are in the back 40-yard playing. Like, we've never even seen that. We've been here for 20 years. This is the first year we've seen this many beavers. But about 2 years ago, I saw our first beaver, and I saw that he was chopping some trees down, about 4-inch trees. And what I started to do was he had wood shavings all over the place. So I've been following this beaver intentionally, collecting his beaver chips. And I've been intentionally saving them they're actually in some mushroom compost. They're just sitting in the compost. They're all covered up. But beaver chips, because I'm going to make one big batch of beaver chip IMO3. And it's just going to be like one cool little, just IMO3 bucket,
Wow.
for coolness, really. It still work like nature, but it's beaver chips, man. And instead of the wood chips being scraped up, it'll be literally from this beaver or these beavers.
That's really cool. What is the production like? Do they produce more chips than you would imagine? Like, are you left with a good amount of wood shavings?
Not too many, depending on the size of the beaver. If it's a smaller beaver, the trees are always small. It doesn't take but about 5 or 6 scrapes into it, and then they can kind of push it over. But you get a bigger beaver, their chip is actually about 6 or 7 scrapes, like it's a chunk in, and another chunk, and another chunk, and then they bite the whole thing off. It's what it looks like. So it's pretty cool because you can then peel them apart, and they're just kind of flat pieces that are pretty thin. But that's what I've got, man.
Jeez,
Can you hear that
that's
owl
really
in the background? Can you hear this owl?
No, you're fine.
I was about to, I'm telling you.
We'll talk about those owls and birds in this episode. But yeah, dude, I love what you're doing out there. One with nature.
Here's the deal with that beaver. A couple years ago when I saw it was out there, I collected chips. This last winter, I've gone out into the woods and created a bunch of trails out in our backwoods. They're real thick forests. But we have these awesome trails now, and now my neighbor has gone out there, and he thought it was awesome, and he's been kind of weed eating them. And after the rains happened a month ago, I was walking these trails, doing my thing, and then we found that we had gone right into a patch of morels. And this was the most morels I had found in the 20 years that we have lived here, man. Just because I was able to get out in there before, because I did it in the wintertime when you're not going to get eaten up with ticks and everything is fallen. You can see where you're going. There you go. You're just chopping stuff down. But then as the leaves grow back, we've got these beautiful trails going deep into the woods, and you can see more with these trails. And man, I found all these morels this year. That's just the first batch I found. I found 3 batches.
That's really great. And, you got to take a look at the soil out there. If it's really, fungally dominant and these fungal spores are able to proliferate year after year and grow these delicious morels, that fungally dominant soil is going to be really, really nice for something like you do, like the IMO collection or just incorporating your native soil, what have you. Like you said, those deep woods, those perennial, long-growing, acidic, fungal dominant soil preferring old trees and stuff like that.
Yes.
Man, you're going to get a different profile out there. So those morels look like a delicious haul. We were looking at a picture here on the show, and they just look perfect and delicious. Watch out for the false morels, you listeners, if you're out there hunting. But those are absolutely delicious. I didn't eat those until I came to Oklahoma, Calyxx. I never had a morel.
Really?
So good. I love mushrooms.
They're good.
Better than I expected.
Yeah, this one, it's not even the mushroomy thing. It's like what is it? Like a delicious breading or maybe a good Italian chicken, depending on what you put on it. It's just a delicious firmness to it. I mean, we cut them in half, bread them up, fry them that way.
Yeah.
We tried to air fry them and didn't like
Sure.
them. We tried to do it the healthy way, but you got to fry these babies,
Yeah,
man.
you do.
They only come around once a year anyway.
And then here's a little hack I'll just throw out before we get off the subject of morels. I've seen this on TikTok. I haven't tried it yet. People taking like a cheese stick and you stick it down that hollow center. And then you fry it up in some oil. It's a stuffed morel. So there you go.
Moly.
I'm from the Midwest, man. We're going to take a cheese stick.
Thank you.
Yeah, there you go. We're going
to take a cheese stick.
dip it in ranch, dude. Yeah. But, dude, I love what you're doing out there. It's fantastic. Now, you mentioned, you can see all of this on your new Instagram, by the way. Shout out to OKCalyxx 2 on Instagram. Big F you to the regulations on that platform. You know, it's their platform. They can do what they want. I wish they would just stay consistent because your page does not violate their guidelines. I got my page back. You should get your page back, but there was technical issues. Anyways, if you're listening to this, please go subscribe to OKCalyxx right now at OKCalyxx and then the number 2. That's OKCalyxx 2 on Instagram. Go and subscribe. You'll be able to see some of the things we're talking about. Like the plants that you mentioned. You said last time on the show that you were vegging a plant since we last met up. Shout out to Bully Man. Shout out to the whole Oklahoma chapter. But our boy Bully Man, who recently won a home grower showcase for Growcast and the members. He's a great member. What was it? Where did we meet up? Was it the Immersive? It was the Immersive, right?
Yeah, he brought the Cherryanna Grande to the Immersive.
Wow, you've had those things since the Immersive
since October 12th, I think it was.
All winter long, and then you stick them outside. We have some video here, but you told me off air, man, they're way bigger than that video by now.
Yeah, they're way bigger, guys. The weather warmed up. Just light rains, keeping it moist. Yeah, they're all above that round hook you see right now. They're probably 2 feet taller right now, y'all. They're beasts. They've just exploded.
They're 6 feet tall in this video. Right now, you're saying currently at the time of recording, these things are 8 feet tall.
Very close to it, yes, sir.
That's crazy, man.
They're monsters. They're going to be as big as those poles you see. I took a bunch of clones off of that right there and gave them back to Bully Man. The circle continues. Cherryanna Grande.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't think we knew that. Yeah, I told you though last week. I sent you a picture. He stopped by last weekend, or this week around Monday, I think it was. Stopped by and we dabbed with my neighbor. Came out and looked at all the plants. I cut him some clippings, took some cuttings for him. Got some rooted clones for him all ready to go. So we had a good time, dude. He brought some flower called Mr. Nasty. GMO cross to what is it? He's gonna kill me for that, but grease monkey, GMO to grease monkey, and it's called Mr. Nasty. And he had a couple fat joints he brought. I don't smoke flower, I just do rosin, but my neighbor had it and he said it was delicious. He said to make sure Bully Man heard that, he said he loved it and thank you very much.
Oh, perfect time on the show, man. Listen, the community's tight. The community's amazing. I'm super humble and grateful for what I've created. And it pays to be a Growcast member when you're hosting people on your property and dabbing out Calyxx. That's really cool of you to do that. And yeah, huge shout out to Bully Man. But those plants that he gave you, my goodness, you said they went through hell and high water to get to what happened to them.
Let's talk about that. So we're talking about my Cherryanna Grande. That is a Chimera 2 crossed to a very cherry. And so the plant is a growing machine. It will grow into week 8. It doesn't have big buds, but it's unbelievably terpy. It's the loudest fruity terp plant that I've ever had. And so we kept it. Like I did this 2.5 years ago. And I didn't even have the plant anymore, but I knew people had it. I didn't know Bully Man had it, though. And he told me like a week before the autumn immersive, he said, hey, I'm going to bring some cuts of your original Cherryanna Grande I got from this guy that you gave it to. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, because I was trying to figure out a plan of how to get it back. Like I was really like, okay, it's time to get it back and do some work with it again. Anyway, he brought it to me, gave me 6 clones, I believe it was. All 6 clones are in the garden right now. They're all over 6 feet tall. But we had to start in some red solo cups and went into Gasoline Alley. Everything was looking good, not bad at all. Brought in a plant from somebody else I wanted to check out. Had some mites on it, I'm pretty sure. And then it got all over my plants. And then I spent probably a month to 2 months, I don't remember, just spraying, defoliating, waiting for them to get healthy again and grow out and get started. And finally, they started to get healthy, get some green leaves and all that. And then at the end of February, I took them outside. As they were outside, they went through 4 freezes. I put a tarp up over them and a little space heater, but that's all I gave them. And there was about 10 plants or so out there, getting kind of big, but they got frostbite on some of them. The leaf wilted real quick. You could tell the cold got to them on that section. So I had to cut some back, and then we had a storm, had a big branch fall right in the middle of my plants and snapped a bunch of branches off of them. Me and my neighbor were moving them. I accidentally dropped one, and we both hit it, and it snapped the thing at the base and laid completely over on the ground. I immediately got the electrical tape, set it straight back up, electrical taped it up real well. It's still going out here in the garden, man. It still got the electrical tape at the bottom, too, from where it totally snapped. This is one of the worst breaks. I was like, dude, this plant's going to die, but so what? If it starts to wilt, we'll clone it out. So I told him. And it never wilted, Jordan. So these plants, man, they've been to hell and back, and right now they're really just feeling good. I feel like Cherryanna Grande is a 5-leaf plant. Like that's what she likes to put is 5 the whole time. And you know what? She's at kind of 3s in some spots, but that 5 is really shining through now on the very top, looking good. Yeah, that's a little bit bigger. That's a legendary cherry right there. That's just one of the. Man, God, I wish I had all good pictures now. One of the fattest plants I've grown. It's about 4 feet across right now, and it's only about 3.5 feet to 4 feet tall. It's a blob. It's so
I didn't mean to distract you
big.
by pulling up the fan leaf picture, but I want to dig in on what you just said because there's some really good information there. First of all, Calyxx, I think this is actually just a kind of fact of is some sort of hermetic principle. It's kind of like a fact of the universe. When your plants are able to survive those stressful events, they always come out the other side more vigorous. It's kind of like when you break a bone, if you're able to heal that bone, it heals stronger. It's kind of like with people when they never have a challenge and they never push themselves, they can never achieve and kind of step into the person that they could potentially be, their highest possible self sort of thing. You need challenges to reach your full potential. And something about surviving these stressors makes them stronger after they survive the problems. So I'm really excited to see how these finish is what I'm trying to say, because they've been through hell and I bet they're just raging out in the gardens. Are they like the happiest, fastest growing plants after all those struggles?
No, they're happy. They're bushing out so hard. I'm laying them over. I'm pulling branches down. The heads are standing straight up the next day. She's feeling good. But I've got her. You saw how I've got it all. Using yarn and those bamboo poles and creating a grid to where they
all
all just
trained
kind of are
out.
able to.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're getting trained out right now. Like that. Like they're hardly touching anything right now. I've got parts of secondary branches pulled heavy sideways that look like a brand new plant now. And that is all filled in right there now. That's all filled in.
That's really cool, man. We'll get you on.
It's just exploded.
We'll get you on TV for the members too and get a current update of this because this looks beautiful right now. I can't imagine what it's like at the time of this recording. So yeah, dude, absolutely incredible.
The volunteers, man. The volunteers are huge too. I mean, they're just monsters now. The fan leaves are bigger than my head. That girl is a beast right now. You can see how she's short and fat. Look at all those heads coming out. Those fan leaves are monsters. That plant got cut down. That one's gone. That one might get cut down on the right. All the other potted plants are gone. Everything is gone. Everything is in the ground that I want. That's another volunteer. She's at least 2 feet tall. She's past that pole, Jordan. She's way past the pole.
Yeah, we're looking at these volunteers that came up out of the ground. They're probably a couple feet tall at the time of the video, but I know that you said they exploded and they look really good, man. Everything looking so happy. I do want to go back, though, to another thing you said, which was the electrical tape. Man, when you break or split a plant, tape works fantastic to repair it. I mean, it's like you said, you think this plant is far gone, way too far gone. This thing is dead. I'm telling you, tape it up. Any tape you have, tape is the way to go. And are you not shocked, Calyxx, at how much they can jump back just with some duct tape or some electrical tape?
Yeah, it's amazing. Now, it's totally amazing. If you just tape them back up, watch them. And I think it's a sign of good genetics, too, things that can handle that stress and come back. It might be a sign of a good root base also, but I think the genetic really can handle things like that.
Yeah, that is very true. Cultivar dependent. And then I'll say you can support, like if it's really split in half and falling, you can tape it and then support both ends. And here's a crazy one, Calyxx. You ready for this? We did a member interview with Molokai Kevin, who's been on the show before. If you've been listening long enough, you remember Molokai Kevin. Yeah, he's a island guy. He's super mega organic. Like, oh, no. Like, I don't touch, that's got chemicals on it. I ain't touching that. So he's like, no, dude, I don't use sticky chemical tape on my plants. You know what I use? I get, and I don't know if this is available on Molokai. I don't know how available it is here on the mainland. I get animal sinew. You can buy animal sinew. It's like hide kind of, but it's like flexible and it's white. It's dried animal sinew, and you can wrap that around. And when it rains, it almost like forms a cast on it, and it's all natural. He's using animal sinew. How cool is that, Calyxx? I thought you get a kick out of that.
No, that's another level. That's on up there. I'm not using sinews.
Yeah, right.
But it's very cool. It's a good idea, because what if you don't have tape? You're gonna figure out other things, but
they get it from the deer.
Here's the one problem when you get a big break. Like our last storm, I had one of the branches break, and it didn't break off, but it broke enough that it's hanging on by the side flesh of the plant. All right. It peeled off down low a little bit, kind of snapped and peeled. And it was attached to the main meristem. And so the break kind of exposes that meristem a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And the problem with a break, and I've had this happen a couple of times now because I didn't deal with the break correctly. If the break isn't taped up correctly, if you don't use some type of, even a bit of a putty, a clay, or anything to try to keep holes filled, you're going to get bugs in there, and they just start to eat, and you'll lose the branch eventually. It'll look okay, but eventually it's going to go. So I'm worried about one branch. It could go. It's just how it is out here. I mean, heck, I've got them so tied down right now. If they break, there's nothing I could have done about it anyway. We just had a really strong tornado almost come through here, and it just did its thing. But I've got it taped up. I've got it taped up so well that I don't think any air has gotten to it, because I intentionally really tried to make sure, it's all covered up, done the best I can. I'm sure people have probably put some type of antibacterial stuff on the cut, things like that. I've heard. I didn't do that. I just taped it up real well, but I'm aware I could lose it too.
That's a really good point. Another area where I see this become a problem is when you have hollow stems. Maybe your soil outside doesn't have enough boron or calcium going. And so you top your plant, or you prune your plant, or like you said, you have a break, something snaps off. Now you've got this hole right down into your pith, right down into the center of your plant. And oh my God, all sorts of borers and caterpillars love that. So I've seen Molokai growers plug that up with things like cotton or
wax.
Yes, very, very.
Beeswax.
You got to think about that sort of thing. Indoors, I'm not really concerned about that at all, to be honest. I'm doing my IPM spray. The tent is very isolated, and you can cover it very well in that regard. But when you're outside, you have to be concerned about that. So very good stuff, Calyxx.
Another thing I did was I used to rip the lowers off for clones. I would just grab them and pull them off, pop them off real quick with my hand. And this is how I first found out about it. I had done that, and I had pulled off too deep into that main meristem, and a few months later, the whole plant died because that hole right there, I could split the plant right open, and you could see the rot going straight from that hole. And so now I always clip them with scissors. Don't break them off.
That's so true. And here's another pro tip on that. On that note, Calyxx, Wolfman used to tell me this all the time. I just saw Wolfman, by the way. He's off doing other things. I went out and visited him. We had such a good time. So shout out to Wolfman. Love that guy. And he taught me, when you're de-leafing, this is important for indoor growers too. When you're de-leafing, you're pulling off those fan leaves, that leaf stem, that petiole, don't just pull it down or even cut it where the main stem is, because like you're saying, Calyxx, what that does is it leaves a big open gaping wound, which pathogens can drift into more easily. You don't have to drive yourself crazy, but this is just an easy change. You ready? Instead, pinch the petiole with your fingernails midway. So instead of having this big gaping wound on the main stalk, the petiole is severed in the middle, and you pinch it closed with your fingers, and it's a way better cut. So that's how I always, and it's not quite as pretty as Instagram because you have all these little half petioles, but I'm telling you, that's the way.
They'll fall off like a belly button thing,
they
like
will.
a umbilical cord. They'll just rot and fall off.
That is exactly right. And then there's a nice callus where that wound would have been. I really like that. And shout out for Wolfman for teaching me that a long time ago. So
Wolfman.
anyways,
during this time of the year, I grow my right thumbnail out because I pinch fan leaves off with my fingernail and pointer finger. And that's, I mean, my fingernail, my pointer finger is dry as a bone. It's all cracked and weird looking, you know. But that's because it just pinched them leaves off. Just boom, 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 not pull them off.
There was a product that was like garden thumb, and it was
that little green thing. Yes.
Everyone's seen it. No one's used it.
It's because we got filled thumbnails. They forgot.
You're trying to sell me something that's already on my hand. Listen, I did bring up my tent. I love talking about myself, right? No.
Yeah, let's see it.
Really, I got to give you a lot of credit. I got to give a couple people a lot of credit on this run. I'm having one of those really good runs. And listen, if you're a grower and you're listening to this show, if you're a newer grower, you need to hear this. If you're an experienced grower, you know this. No matter how good you are, you have different types of runs. Sometimes you're going to have a disaster run. Sometimes you're going to have a God run. It's like playing poker tournaments. Sometimes you're just a winner the whole time. And this is one of those God runs. I'm super, super grateful for it. Shout out to Farmer John. He's helped me really dial in what is essentially our beginner's grow guide, but it's a very replicatable earthbox grow system. My plants have never looked happier. You can get the guide, or better yet, give it to anyone you know who smokes to convince them to start growing. And just to break it down for you quickly on the podcast here, what it is an earthbox style, which is a sub-irrigated planter. You can look that up if you don't know what it is, but most people do know what that is. You get your good cannabis soil, you throw it in there. You can use green aminos in veg if you want. And then in flower, I'm using Build-A-Flower for my big macros. I'm using mineralized phosphate for my minerals. And I'm using gypsum for extra calcium delivery. And then most importantly, whenever I top dress, perhaps most importantly, I use OKCalyxx bokashi. And I mix that in with my top dress to get those aggressive decomposers. And I'm going to play a video for the video people right now. I apologize, it's not landscape. But it's showing me peeling back my earthbox cover. And there's just a carpet of white fuzz. Like, it is so thick and dense.
Thick.
It is it's a huge bloom. And listen, the plants look absolutely amazing. The canopy is even. They're perfectly praying, and those heavy decomposers in that bokashi are really, really effective at this. So that's my whole lineup, and then I use Photo Plus down in the reservoir to keep things clean. So Calyxx, this is a cheap setup. And you can get a lot of weight of good organic bud. And really the crux of it is your bokashi. Now, before people run and use code GROWCAST at OKCalyxxshop.com, the members sold out your bokashi. Shout out to the members. They used their member code.
Shout out to people. Yes, and we know this because they use their codes they get.
They got 20% off, and they sold you out. When are you going to have more, brother?
I'm making more this weekend. It's going to take about 10 days and then take me about 3 days to dry it. So about 2 weeks, we'll get it back up there. I usually make about 100 pounds of it, 100, 200 pounds of it. So, but yeah, they sold me out, guys. And let me tell you something, everybody out there listening, you and somebody listening might know this is you. But a few people emailed me, at least 3 or 4, and one guy had said, hey, I want to get that bokashi that you use because I'm following a style of growing that Jordan has shown us, and I need your bokashi to do it. And I'm like, heck yeah. So, I mean, it was just telling me, I was telling Jordan, it's a fun thing when people actually give you the intent for why they're buying it. They're like, listen, I'm watching and I'm learning and I'm implementing and trying, and I need to get your stuff, and I hope it works. And you're like, man, that's cool because that's fantastic, you know? And
I love partnering with you, man. I love partnering with you because we support all types of growing, and you and I cover both sides of the spectrum, man. As above, so below. So let me explain what I mean. You teach people something very important, which is look around you. What do you have right now in your environment that you can use? Every garden is different, and you're going to be using unique stuff anyways. So why not build your whole grow off that philosophy? That is so important, dude. And I love working with you on that aspect. With the growers funnel, I have gone to the complete opposite. It's been hard for me, Calyxx. We've always said I support all grow styles, but you know what? When you're getting a new person growing in an apartment, they don't want to hear about all grow styles. They want to know what the F to buy. So I finally put together the opposite of what we just talked about, which is, hey, this is dummy proof. Just follow these steps and
Perfect.
you will grow fire. And again, shout out to Farmer John. We really nailed it down to just a few core products and Earthbox style. But really, Calyxx, listen, I want to get everybody growing. I want to convert 1 million smokers into growers. I think that's how we can achieve overgrow best, is convert 1 million smokers into growers. That's my mission. But secretly deep down, I do want everybody to go further. And not everybody is, but there are so many bright young individuals who are interested in regenerative agriculture, in sustainability, in Korean natural farming, in JADM farming. And that excites me so much, Calyxx. I'm very excited about home growers being able to produce their own medicine, but I'm even more excited about the students and the acolytes and the ambassadors that this creates out there. So
yeah. No doubt, because I'm the kind of person that will get it done myself because that's the kind of guy I am. And that doesn't mean it's good nor bad. It just is the personality God gave me. Not everybody's that way. Not everybody has the resources I have either. And you are so right when you said people just want to know what to do. And they don't just want to know. They actually need to know because they don't know. They don't know what to do. And I remember being there many, many times, and I'll be there again, growing new stuff. You just don't know what's coming. You don't know what to expect. If you changed, let's say you changed some IMO3 material you brought in, or you try to use less labs or more labs in a bokashi, you're taking a risk. You're just trying to experiment and find out. I'm able to do that. A person that lives in an apartment with their wife and one child and has got the chance to grow 2 plants in their little 2x4, they don't get to mess up, and they don't need to mess up. They don't need to experiment. They need directions. And here's the thing about GrowCast, Jordan, that I've always found. Again, I have always been the person who will figure it out myself, and I like the challenge of that. But when I got hooked up with you, I started realizing, like, at first I thought thinking, everybody gets it, because when I first got on Instagram, I was doing this already. And so I'm getting on Instagram and I'm like, hey guys, this is kind of what I do in my garden. And, I don't know what else to tell you, but just show you what I do. And that's all it was. And I started realizing, like, people were saying good stuff, and it was really encouraging of like, oh my gosh, I've always wanted someone to tell me just exactly how to do it.
And then also, can I buy that too? There's a lot of people who said, I don't have the time to do that.
It turns into
I don't have the time to do that.
Exactly.
Can I get some of that bokashi?
If you can monetize it, it's a possibility.
Calyxx, I could make my own bokashi. I'm fucking busy. I'm busy with the podcast.
Exactly.
I'm busy with the grow. I know I could do that. You got to pick and choose. And I love, that's what I said. That's why I said I love our team up, because it makes so much sense. We're a dynamic duo in that regard. And there's a lot of people like you who are just like, do it myself, man. You don't sleep, dude. You have infinite energy.
I don't sleep.
Yeah.
But what I was saying was no, I don't. And it's just how I am. And I realize that not everyone's like that. And I realize not everyone has a backyard with woods either. People live in apartments. And I started realizing, like, okay, my teaching is kind of narrow. I'm teaching according to my backyard. I could actually kind of broaden this out and say, I understand where you're at. Let me show you some ideas too. And that's kind of what is fun about this whole organic thing. And that's where I liked GrowCast, because it was like you have someone to help you. And I just remember, like, thinking, man, if you just join and this sounds like I'm selling you, and I'm not. I am, but I'm not, Jordan. This is for real.
I'll let you go on.
I was like, if you had a place like GrowCast where you could just go and get help from somebody, get your question answered immediately, how helpful is that? Holy cow. Because I've learned the lessons, and it took seasons, and that's a long time, but I enjoyed the labor and the learning process and just the process itself. But GrowCast gives you that dude above you, that big brother, that guy that's like, I know what you need. Here you go. And it's so valuable. So anyway, that's why you and I are fun to be together and teach.
It's accelerated learning. And I'll finish off this riff by saying this. Sometimes people want to go through every trial themselves and every hurdle themselves, and that's fine. But a lot of people want a good run their first run, and they don't want to lose their crop. And a $15 membership that we try to make your money back with discount codes, man, that accelerated learning is worth so much more. Here's the other thing I'll say. The Autumn Immersive is also exactly like that. Okay, so the Autumn Immersive, not only is the education worth going to the class, but you sent those people home with more stuff than they paid to come. You literally filled their
They're
trunks
loaded.
with stuff. So it's like the education was more valuable, but it was almost the bonus on top of it. So it's called accelerated learning. And if you want to do that, I'm so grateful that there's people like you. And I'll even give props to us, and not just me, but the whole team, Farmer John, Mary Beth Sanchez, Riser Rich, all the mods, everybody, all the members.
Lots of people. Shout
It's
out
good
to
stuff,
all
man.
of them.
Come and check out Growcast Membership, your new home as a cannabis cultivator. Not only will we support you in your garden 24/7 anytime you need it with accurate diagnosis and garden advice, but you also get a whole host of benefits like members-only content, members-only discounts on tons of products that you need, plus resources, live streams, all sorts of fun stuff. It's all waiting for you, and you want to jump in now because we got a bunch of promotions coming your way. First of all, we got a Farmer John collection clone drop coming up that you're not going to want to miss, and members are going to get a really good offer on that. Stay tuned for that this summer. We also have a shirt drop that's live right now as of today, growcastpodcast.com/shop, and members use their code to get money off merch too. You basically save on everything. Plus, members only discount codes for all sorts of products you use every day, like 20% off OKCalyxx microbes, 15% off Bokashi Earthworks. We've got bigger Rain Science grow bags discounts than anyone else out there, Rimrock sex testing, even HLG lights, 20% off HLG, which is the biggest code you can get, and it's for members only. Go to growcast.com/membership, check it out, and stay tuned because we got some big stuff coming. Also, make sure you're subscribed to the newsletter. Go to growcast.com, scroll down and hit that newsletter, pop in your email because we're coming with some big giveaways. Teasing that right now for you. You don't want to miss it. Make sure you're on the list. It's the most important thing you could do if you want to win some big, big prizes just for being on the list. Growcast.com. I'll see you there. Come join your family. Never grow alone again. We will be here to support you, and you can plug in to a worldwide community of positive and uplifting cannabis cultivators just waiting for you to join us. Growcast.com/membership and growcast.com/everything else. It's all up at our new website. See you there, everybody. Talk about that. You're raising chickens. You have owls on the property. Let's talk about birds a little bit here.
Oh man, we got hawks, eagles, owls, blue cranes. I mean, the list goes on. I got an app on my phone, and y'all should look it up. It's a bird app. I can't remember it, but you get the app and you press record, and as it's recording the sounds, it's telling you what birds you're hearing. And you can hit that bird and it'll replay the sound for it. And then you're like, oh, okay, I recognize it. And so one thing that's fun about nature is learning it. Like the call of the birds, dude. Chickens have these different sounds. When they see a hawk, they get this purr sound going on. It's an alert. When they're hungry, it's just a tweet, 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 tweet. You know, they'll call to each other, chirp, chirp, you know, like that. And nature is speaking, you all. It is the TV outside. Like and dude, when I got chickens, I learned that June bugs are like the breakfast of all the animals. There are raccoons eating them. There's turtles eating them. There's frogs eating them. The chickens eating them. Little birds eating them. The possums eating them. Holy moly. So anyway, just getting out in nature, just being with these chickens this year.
I love that.
It's just fun, dude. You're learning nature more of it. Oh, I've learned all kinds of wild grasses that they will eat, like dead nettles, you know, and henpeck is another one. And then they like hairy vetch, man. They eat that stuff up.
That's so cool, man. We're looking at pictures of these cute little chickens, and you're very DIY, just easy. Anyone could do this, man. I love how your stuff is just
easy.
You got a tote, you got a little chicken wire tube laid across a fence, so it's like a little chicken run. You've got some what are they called? T-posts, kind of balancing the whole thing and holding it together. This is like you threw this together, and these chickens are happy as clams.
They're happy as can be.
So what are you going to do with these birds? You're going to get eggs. You're going to eat the eggs, obviously.
Eggs. Yeah, we'll do the eggs, and then of course the manure. I'm already building up the backstory is there's a commercial grow here that's switching over to an automated watering system, and they had these big wooden stages that are the whole thing is about 8 feet long and about 4 to 5 feet high, and it's all wood platform stuff, and they just kind of cut it in half. And I asked the guy if I could have it, and so I brought it in my backyard. I'm putting it back together, and just creating a chicken box. And then I'll put the roof on it, and put the windows in it, and create the boxes inside. But dude, it was perfect. I told my wife, she kept saying, "We've got to get a chicken roost or something. Like you've got to get us something. They're getting too big." And I was like, something's coming. Something. I will find something in the dumpster, somebody's waste. Somebody's going to tell me about something. And I found it, dude. It's not going to cost me anything.
That's so fascinating, man. And then this chicken manure will be a big part of your
Oh, yeah.
grow. And we're going to talk about fan leaves and reutilizing your fan leaves. But that's essentially the cycle you're going for, is feeding these chickens your fan leaves and then utilizing their manure full of the nutrients, right?
Yeah, what I did this year for my crop cover, or my cover crops, was just simple lettuces, brassicas, some edible wildflowers, stuff that these chickens can eat. Man, hairy vetch, all that stuff, dead nettles, all that. And red clover, some more things they just eat. But I just go out there and scrape up handfuls of stuff from the garden, of vegetable material, and throw it in that chicken run, and they eat that every morning. I have some other grains that I feed them, but the point with the chicken manure is to, as I feed them the things that I'm growing, they poop it back out. I collect the chicken manure. I'll put it in a tote, let it set for 6 months. I'll probably pour labs on it, put bokashi on it. You can put compost in. You can do whatever you want. But it needs to set for a while, and we can talk about that. But I will eventually reincorporate that back into the garden, or make some IMO5 and distribute it, or however, whatever the case may be. But the point is to get the nitrogen back into the soil through their manures, is the idea. So that's the cycle.
And it's interesting when you talk about different manures and different poops, because the chicken manure is going to be extra high in nitrogen. You want to talk about why that chicken manure is so high?
Yeah, I'm going to tell them why, and you're going to give them the names of things, because I know you know those
You
better.
got it.
But what the problem is with the chicken is we got one hole doing all the work. And so, like, everything comes in and out that one hole. And so you've got poo-poo, which is good, but then it's covered with this real high nitric pee-pee, And so that has to balance out, is the problem. They're not separated. Like a rabbit will poop through his little poop balls, and then he'll pee other places, just like us humans do. But the chickens are talented. They can just eject.
And eggs too, interestingly, come out of the cloaca. It's called a cloaca. It's the chicken hole. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I guess it's that urea nitrogen, which is like present in all urines. And that's why your horse manure is going to be such a different composition, minerally speaking, than your chicken manure and other waterfowls and stuff, right? Like ducks are the same way, right? Ducks aren't packing, are they? They probably have a similar thing going on, I imagine. So yeah, it's very interesting to think about it all coming out of one hole, increasing the nitrogen. I'll say that as nicely as I can. So you love these chickens and you name them all and all that. They have personalities. Well, I'm sure it's like a soap opera out there.
It is a soap opera, dude. So check this out. You want to hear the latest of the soap opera? What happened was, when they're about 4 weeks ago, that one's gone. About 4 weeks ago, when they were a little smaller, they were outside in the yard, and I walked inside real quick. I told my wife, "Would you please make a sandwich or something? And I got to get back here to these chickens because a hawk will come get them." Wasn't a second later, I look out the window and a hawk swoops over our fence, doesn't even land, just picks up the yellow one who was hanging out by herself and took off, and she's gone. Now, just 5 days ago, I let him out, and I had to get on a phone call with some lady wanting to talk about dumb junk, and I was watching the chickens, and 2 of them escaped, and we could not find them all night long. And then we woke up, and one was back, but that white one had gotten eaten. And now on the bamboo poles every morning, that hawk is just sitting on the bamboo pole directly above that run, looking straight down. So we've got a serial killer in the chicken world out here.
You got a serial killer in your backyard. Man, hawks are menacing and they're smart. You got to send that guy a message. You either have to bribe him, or you have to use force on him. Smoke him.
Yeah. I don't want to kill him. He's gorgeous, That's just too bad for the chickens. I got to do better at being a chicken parent.
No, that's good stuff, man. And are you going to utilize the eggshells? A lot of people take the time to make it into WCA, but you once told me, man, I'll grind that eggshell powder up fine and throw it right in my soil. Is that your plan?
Yeah, I do. You just just crush them up hard. You don't even have to, blend them or anything. It's just crunch. They crumble easy. Crunch, crunch, crunch. And I just put them right back in the compost. But they don't break down for years, literally. I think, they're in there all the time. But they do make just a nice little texture to the soil also. And, eventually they're breaking down calcium back into the soil, but it's just a little harder piece in there that
Yeah, a
doesn't
little
pack.
slower
Kinda. I
release.
don't know.
I like that. That's interesting. And
Who
like you
knows?
said, you skip a step, get it into your compost. So I like that.
Yeah.
Now, I want to talk about maybe the big subject for this episode. I know beavers are exciting, but we're getting into fan leaves, man. This is a subject that I crow about, pardon the bird pun, all the time, man. All the time. Don't throw away your fan leaves. I can't say it enough times, Calyxx,
No.
because that's everything you paid for. You grow for free in the ground, which makes a lot
Yeah.
more sense. But man, if you're like me and you're paying for your natural amendments, or especially if you're buying bottled nutrients and paying for them to ship to your house or ship to the grow store, what do? You go pick up those expensive bottled nutrients, you pour it in your water, your plants drink the water, your plants grow leaves, and then you clip off those leaves that are full of the bottled nutrients you just bought.
Yes. Yes.
That's the bottom line. So if you take that and you throw it away, you're throwing away the bottled nutrients that you purchased. You have to find a way to claim back that nutrition, and there's a million ways to do it. Calyxx, do you want to just start with some of your favorite?
We should talk about some of them then. One thing like we just discussed was feeding them back to livestock. There's lots of critters that will eat cannabis, and what I found the best way was I would throw the leaves out to these chickens and they would peck on them, but the problem is they're too big and chickens like to rip things into smaller pieces, and eventually if they can't get it ripped down enough, they kinda get bored with it, walk on it, and so it kinda just gets trampled on. So I started chopping it up just like a lettuce into smaller pieces. They would start to eat it much better, but when I would actually incorporate about a quarter of a head of lettuce with just a bunch of fan leaves, however many you can get, but I would mix the 2 together. They started eating that, and then I was like, "Well, heck, they're gonna eat all this crop cover I planted." Then, now I'm just out there cutting the lettuces and the brassicas and all the big fan leaf things and just taking it aside, giving a good chop up into small pieces. The smaller, the more they'll eat. And what I do is instead of throwing it all in the cage, I set it on top of the cage, and they will peck at the top and little bits will fall, and they'll eat it all before they trample it all. Because if you just dump it all in there, them chickens just sit on it. They'll scrape it and throw half of it across the yard, but put it on top of the chicken wire, and it just falls piece by piece, and they eat every bit of
Wow,
it.
that's fascinating, man. I love how you play with this stuff. I totally agree. You don't even have to put it back into your garden. One of the ways to reclaim that nutrition is to feed it to livestock. Eat it yourself. I've seen people juice cannabis leaves.
Yeah.
I've seen people make that cannabis juice and then freeze it into ice cubes. And then when you're making like a health smoothie, you throw a little hemp cube in there.
Oh,
And
cool.
I've even seen this isn't feasible for a lot of fan leaves, but I've even seen pets that love to eat it. Cannabis is very nutritious. And I will say eating the raw leaves is very cultivar dependent.
Yeah.
Some raw leaves are more resinous and less palatable. Others are more tender and less resinous. So that sort of thing is cultivar dependent. But of course, you can put it back into your garden is another easy way to reclaim those. Calyxx, I think the most effective, but maybe the least feasible is your JLF. When you make your JLF, that's the only way to not the only way. That's one of the ways to take those fan leaves and actually multiply their effectiveness and mineral content, right?
Yeah. Writing this note down here so I don't forget it. Yeah, so the JLF is the best thing really to get started. Now, I wrote this down because the reason, like, if let's say you've got a bunch of fan leaves in a 5-gallon bucket. So you have decisions right now that you can use this in a lot of versatile ways, a lot of different ways with different functions. So the question would be, well, what do you need in your garden right now? And the next would be, what will you be needing in your garden? And if right now you're needing your soil covered because it's exposed to the air, put the fan leaves on the soil. I would say that's the most important thing first. Get the soil covered, get the microbiology, get some protection, get some environment created on the top surfaces of the soil with the moisture of the fan leaves. But get your soil protected first. If you got good mulches down, good dead grasses, good leaves and stuff like that, you're good to go. So the next thing I would say is, well, I don't need protection for my soil. So really I need to think about the nutrients going in the soil because I'm growing in the soil. I need to replenish. That's a big deal. You need to remember, you've got to be replenishing soil all through the summer and definitely all through the fall and into the spring. So JLF. That's what you would need to do. You need to create your own liquid fertilizer. And I have 2 big olive barrels, and you just load them full of fan leaves, but you can load them full of anything. You can load them full of food scraps, mowed grass, alfalfas, and the list goes on of what you can put in there, because when you fill it up with water, the biology starts to just soup it up and break it down and pull the nutrients out into the soil, into their bodies, and you'll eventually be able to use that liquid for liquid fertilizer. But that would come from your cannabis leaf, and that's what he's talking about. Instead of purchasing the bottle, this is where my methods come in. I always say that it's natural farming done my way. It's not KNF or anything like that. It's natural farming, but it is my way, and it doesn't follow all the rules per se. But when you get into doing it your own way, you're able to use your fan leaves for a variety of different reasons. The JLF is a big benefit to you when you need nutrients, and instead of buying it, you actually will have it in a tote, and it will never, ever go away. You just keep filling it.
That's a way to take the money that you spent or extracted from the earth in those leaves and then amplify it and put it back into your garden. Yes, it's going to stink. Yes, you're going to need a space to do it, but I think that's probably the most effective way. The other way you can amplify it is to feed it to worms. Worms digest minerals and comes out the other end actually amplified, increases the mineral content. It's one of the miracles of nature. So composting, vermicomposting, that's also great for a great usage for those fan leaves. You got to keep those worms healthy though, Calyxx. Sometimes
that's a good idea, Jordan, because that plays into the Jadam philosophy that says cannabis has what cannabis needs. So if you've got worms at your house that you feed them your cannabis, because that's the same nutrients and same microbiology that plant was using to grow itself, being reused with your worms, going into the vermicompost, going back to the plants. It's a really tight cycle to have.
That's such a good point, man. That cannabis leaf, that if your healthy green cannabis leaf is being pulled off the plant, that thing is literally perfectly balanced to feed cannabis. It's full of calcium, a lot of calcium stored in there. So there you go. I do want to talk about chop and drop for a second, because you mentioned it, and man, I think it's the easiest way. Talk about the easiest way is to take those leaves and put them back on your soil surface. I think it works best in a outdoor, fully natural, fully holistic scenario. That's where it's always worked. And usually those leaves in nature drop when they're more crisp, when they're less alive, usually. But I will say this, in an indoor scenario, in a tent where things can go out of balance much faster, I kind of tell people, I don't discourage people from chop and dropping, but I do say you probably want something as a barrier in between your canopy foliage and those decaying green leaves that are inviting in decomposers that are designed to attack living leaves a lot of the time. And there's 2 ways to think about this. One is, the more you chop up or dry your leaves, the less those microbes are going to like to attack fresh living stuff. The more you leave your leaves fully intact on top of the soil like that, literally what you're inviting in are only the microbes that are able to attack a living, still living leaf. And I've seen it before, man, a little bit of white fuzzy mold appearing in the canopy. It's something to consider with the chop and drop. And again, that's why I love the earth box. If you can simply put a layer of anything, mulch or the tarp that comes with the earth box, whatever, I think that's a really good choice inside, where things can go out of balance much quicker than in your balanced natural outdoor scenario. You know what I mean?
Oh, without question. Yeah, even when I was talking about getting your soil covered, I was picturing my outside gardens. I definitely wasn't picturing an indoor growing system whatsoever. Now, I will say this, if you chop and drop indoors, you're going to have fungus gnats. Even if you don't chop and drop, you're probably going to have fungus gnats, but if you chop and drop, you're going to have fungus gnats, so be prepared for fungus gnats. There are things you can do to keep them at bay, and even if you have them, it's not the end of the world, guys. I always have, there'll be a point where I'm like, holy moly, I got to do something about these fungus gnats in here. It's that bad. And my weed's just fine. So I've learned to be like, that's kind of a thing you can worry about and maybe not worry about. It just kind of depends on what your procedures are. What are you doing to kind of keep things in a little bit of check and, not just get overwhelmed with it. But if you do chop and drop indoors, you're going to get stuff. And he has a good point. The greener those leaves are, the longer they are going to feed whatever wants to come and attack it. They're just the buffet. So another thing is to JLF it instead. But then, the top dress, if you do use the leaves, use some bokashi, use some labs, use something that's going to help break it down faster than just sitting there forever.
That's right. And occupy that space with beneficial biology that's a heavy decomposer already. Hey, we don't need anything to wander in because we're already taking care of this very aggressively. I saw fungus gnats, speaking of fungus gnats, getting caught in that bokashi and dying.
Yes,
in
sir.
There, man.
That's a great point.
Digesting those fungus gnats into my soil.
They can't cross through it at all. They get stuck in the hyphae, the mycelium hyphae. They get stuck in it. You can see it without question. And that's one reason I fell in love with bokashi, because that is one of the things that I use to deal with fungus gnats, is constantly having feeling. But what I like to do, which imitates this thing that he's got going right here, is I like to put my bokashi down, and then I put my fan leaves down on the bokashi for a little bit, and it'll fire it off like that right there in a day or two, because those fan leaves are still full of moisture. They create a humidity and an environment just above that bokashi, so the biology can really pop off.
Like a blanket, laying across a blanket across the bokashi to allow it to...
like that. Yeah, to create the environment, let it settle off.
Just and then it'll decompose right through it, I would imagine.
It'll consume it. Yeah, it'll really start to take over quick.
I like that. Fan leaf blanket. So listen, this is the type of stuff that people love to hear. Closing the loop, figuring out how to be more resourceful in your own environment. Like I said before, if you're interested in this at all, you got to come to the OKCalyxx Natural Immersive. It's October 11th and 12th. You can get your tickets now at growcast.com/events. People came from all over the country last year, and I'll be sure to post some of the reviews, because it was probably our best received class, probably our best received event that we've ever done. I'm just going to say it. Everybody loved it. If you're interested in this at all, please make the trip out, and I promise you we will make it worth your while. So I just want to throw that out here now. Learn all of this and so much more at the immersive.
I'm excited about it myself, because this is the time that I told all my friends before. I was like, listen, I'm going to be talking to you for a day, or this time for a day and a half at least, and you might not enjoy it, but I promise you I'm going to be enjoying every second of it, because this is what I do, right? This is what we do. We make people's lives better, because people who've been to the pit and been through the mud and the mire, been in the swamp for a while, lived in the darkness and the blackness and in some misery and despair. Once you've come from that, you will do anything anybody needs to help them not be there themselves, because you've been there and you don't want that for people, because you have compassion. You have love for human beings. You don't want them to suffer through what you know you can get them out of. And this is really what natural farming for me is about. It's about breaking open mental loops that you get looped into and you constantly replay in your mind, you become more depressed. Organics teaches you to close loops and hammer things down, and you tighten your stuff up. And that starts to break open mental loops, and you quit thinking about all these depressive things. And organics was a door that opened me out of depression and got me out of alcohol and pain pills. My story's been told many times before on Growcast and other places. Cannabis was one of the main things that helped me out. And then it was like I would already garden, and now I was like, dude, I'm going to fall in love with this plant and figure out everything about it because I'm a gardener already. And it was healing. It was mentally healing. And so that's what this immersive is about. It's about teaching you replacements. It's about teaching you habits and methods and things that teach you more than just gardening. It teaches you life. It teaches you systems to incorporate into your life that's going to keep you mentally healthy. And man, when you get into organics, you start realizing, one of the greatest points I always like to bring up is microbiology. When you get your soil going, you don't have to do anything, but you get the reward of all their hard work. And when you choose your friends wisely, they're here to help you. They're here behind the scenes helping you get better, and you don't even know it, but you get the reward. And there's so many life lessons that can be learned through natural farming. And I'm telling you, I'm gonna tell you all of them. Everyone that comes to my mind as we go through, we're just gonna learn about life and learn about natural farming, and you're gonna go away a better human being, and you're gonna be encouraged to be able to live.
Dude, that's beautifully said. And you always kill it at these events. I'll say this for the students. It's 90% all the natural farming immersive. I'm sorry. It's 90% all the natural farming education you could ever want. And then it's 10% incredible life lessons and personal development, stuff that you're going to take away and think of for the rest of your life. So you're really an incredible teacher, Calyxx. I look forward to it because I always learn something, not just about farming, but about life. That's where I'll leave it. Be ready, everybody. October 11th and 12th. So I want to make sure we have enough time here. Hey, there was one more use of fan leaves that you said that I hadn't heard before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. I actually looked down and saw it. So One thing that I learned to do was before I used to use just deal in hash rosins, man, I would try to cure my bud, but in Oklahoma you just can't do it, and I didn't have the system, and that's the one thing most home growers you reach the end of their abilities is when it's the ability to cure right, and you just lose it there. And I realized that if I will keep my plants and veg longer, I'll get closer to late November, early December when the temps really start to drop. Then I actually have a shed that is kind of down in the 50s for a long time, and it's kind of dry. And I was able to get my bud really dry when the humidity dropped below 30%, 25. It dried out fast and it got crispy. And the problem was it stayed so dry for weeks that my bud was super crispy and it would just kind of explode when you touch it. And it was fine. It was still smoked and all, but I just kind of was wanting it to be more of a flower feel to it. So I put fan leaves back in my plastic bags. And within the end of the day, next day, they were rehydrated just to perfection. Just right where they needed to be, perfectly smoked, good smoke, nothing harsh, but they look good instead of too dry.
Man, that's so funny because we used to take orange peels when we would get super dry bud, and you put orange peels in the bag, and it does a good job rehydrating, but then everything smells like orange rind. So you have this like orange. It's not the worst thing in the world, but fan leaves, man, I'm picking some of the fan leaves out of this tent. And I'm going, holy shit, I found the roadkill skunk. Here's the roadkill skunk everybody's been looking for. It's on the, I don't think that it's going to, in fact, I know these cuts and I know that it's not going to produce in the flower. But what I'm saying is sometimes the fan leaves produce these like really powerful and oftentimes different aromas. And I pull one off and I smell my fingers after. I'm like, God damn, it smells like skunk. That smells like skunk weed. Yes. If you can use that to rehydrate your bud, then there you go. That's good stuff. Yeah.
Perfect. No doubt. There's no doubt. Use that same fan leaf.
So I have a few more videos. Let's just take a look at a few of these. We have some legendary cherry right here. These are stocky little buds. Look at those, dude.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That is legendary cherry, and that is cherry float. They are both phenomenal. Legendary cherry got cut down yesterday. Cherry float's going to get cut down tomorrow. We're going to freeze them and wash them this weekend in the hash, probably, is the plan. But the cherry float won the terp on these two. This cherry float, that cola is huge right now. That's 2 weeks later. It's a fat cola. It's still going right now. Me and my neighbor have been smelling it all day long. Put your nose on it and it'll be on your upper lip. And it's super, super fruity with a little bit of that Tropicana orangey terp kind of. It's all in there. Oh, I can't wait.
Those sound amazing. For the listeners out there listening to this audio, about 4 foot tall plants, and one of them was just stacked, the apical cola, all the way top to bottom. The other one's looking really branchy. And then I've got one that says, let's see here, Orangalina. Now, this isn't the strain. This is what you named this cut, right?
This is my cut right here. This is my peach, Cherryanna Grande peach pistols. Now, there's many of these that are being grown, and people are loving them. I've sold out of them. I've got mine left in the vault. Kid Mac is done. I think he sold out of the rest that he had with this. But Cherryanna Grande crossed the peach pistols. This plant came out with the just heavy Tropicana orange terp, and it's nothing but orange. And me, Kid Mac, who's Growcast member, Scissortail Solvalence, a processor here in Oklahoma, we all smoked it, and it's so good that we are keeping it around. We're cloning it, giving it out, making sure we have a cut. But we all love the orange terp. It's a seriously great orange terp, and it's one of my favorite tastes. So Orangalina is her name. I've already got a clone of her going. I got a clone of Cherryanna Grande going. They'll get about a foot and a half tall. I'm going to try to reverse them, get some fem pollen, and then get it back out there on them and get some S1s.
It sounds incredible. And I love how these different fruit profiles will mix together to make another fruit profile. It happens all the time. I haven't figured out the flavor wheel. I'm surprised no one has yet, which is like grape plus peach equals orange.
Right.
I don't think it's that simple, but my gosh, it certainly is something that I've observed. So that's funny that it comes out orange. Dare I ask this? Does Orangalina have a last name?
Jolie. But I don't say that one. I just put the Orangalina on it.
That's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I
got Cherry Springer and Blueberry Moore and all those fun names like that you just wish you could use. But yeah, Orangalina, She's hot, dude. Smoking hot.
This has been an excellent episode, man. All these plants look incredible. Some of the Grand Pheno hunters are running that strain, the Cherryanna Grande
they
Peach
are.
Pistols.
It's gorgeous, y'all. It's gonna compete. There's without question that she's gorgeous, beautiful, heavy terp, big grower. Yellow Skunk Farms grew it the first time he did his big fancy indoor thing. I think it was the prettiest plant there. He showed it the most. He always liked to introduce it with that Cherryanna Grande Peach Pistols he had.
It's looking beautiful, man. A couple people running that. I'm excited to see how they finish. And who knows? Maybe the winner will take down with your genetics the $1,000 grand prize. That would be fantastic. Anything else, Calyxx, before we wrap it up? Any other updates or teasers?
Oh man, we've got the immersive coming up. Then you want to get into that, guys? It's going to be awesome. It's the land that we do it on is gorgeous. The time is wonderful. We'll be able to get out there, bring your best hash rosin and your best flour, whatever. We'll have our time that we get to sit out and just enjoy. There's no question about that. So check it out. Otherwise, I've got OKCalyxxshop.com. OKCalyxxshop.com. My bokashi is fire, but it's sold out. Like I said, in a couple weeks, I'll have it up. I might even put up a pre-order price up there. Just cut it off another. It's pretty cheap already because I can make a lot of it. But give it a good pre-order sale. I might do that. So be watching OKCalyxxshop.com. There's IMO 3s, guys. IMO 4, IMO 5, IMO 2. There's bundles of all kinds where you might get a lot of IMO 3 and a lot of compost and then some labs and some fermented plant extracts. And I always throw my genetics in. I throw all my garden seeds in. You'll get okra pods. You'll get marigolds. You're going to get just all kinds of stuff. You'll be like, I've had people always email me back like, what is this? What do I do with it? So it's lots of learning too. You know, you got something new you have never messed with and you're going to grow it in your garden. You're just going to get to see what it is. And then you'll get the seeds. You know what I'm saying? And you'll get to keep those and pass them on. That's one thing that a lot of us have missed is the practice of preserving seeds and trading seeds and passing them on and giving them to friends, even as gifts that and they're not going to grow them probably, but sending seeds is just a cool thing that used to be done all the time. You know, people used to make their own paper and you see this, I've seen this at novelty stores, but you can, create your own just a homemade paper, but you put plant seeds in it or you put cannabis seeds in it or whatever, you mail that to people and they put that in their garden and you trade seeds in fun ways like that. I've seen people put mushroom spores on letters and send them that way. On the outside of letters also, you put a mushroom cap on there, let it set for a little bit and it'll put its print on there of its own black spores and it'll stay the whole time. But you get stuff like that in my bundles. I love to make it as cool and naturey as I can. And that's what you find at OKCalyxxshop.com. It's from my heart. I always send my bundles out as though if I got this bundle, am I going to like it? And when I open it up, it's like, oh yeah, dude, I got loaded. I got slaps galore. There's candy in here for my kids, seeds I didn't ask for, genetics, all kinds. And then the stuff I ordered, stuff like that. So
it's very generous.
Check it out.
You go the extra mile for the GrowCast code users. Code GrowCast gets you 10% off and then members get a 20% off code. You really hook it up. I appreciate it, man. But hey, let's throw this out. You talk about this idea of seed trading and genetics. And we've been doing a lot of events for a really long time. What I'm really focusing on now, Calyxx, is doing big events for the members and still doing free events for non-growers, like free grow classes and things like that. When I come down to visit you, I'm thinking July. Why don't we do a little meetup in Oklahoma? Just a cannabis community meetup designed for swapping genetics. It'll just be a free little thing. No huge educational presentation. No huge venue.
Hang out.
Yeah. That sounds
great.
How
we met. That's how you and I met. Jordan was
in
Oklahoma
how we met.
City. You did something, and it was the first time I'd gone to anything. And I'm like, dude, I don't even know what these people are like.
You came to the barbecue? You came to the hamburger grill off?
Yeah, something like that. I don't remember what
That's how we met? That's awesome, dude.
Yeah,
let's do it again.
And I was just sitting there, and you gave me a clone of hold on. I crossed it and used it. What was that? Dang it.
Peach Dosey.
Yes. Peach Dosey. That's it. I crossed it with Bluetooth. And that's how that's how me and Fat Bearded Pothead, we did a breeding project and we made Remedy and Juicy Lucy and Blueberries and Muffin Else. And you guys loved it. A lot of y'all listening right now have grown those out. They were great. And that Dosey was in there.
That's incredible. Huge shout out to Old Bay, the Midwest member who bred the Peach Dosey. which was the peach pie dumpster cut pollen selected by saved by Rhizo Rich, and he hit it to his archive cut of Dosey. I had a pheno that I gave to you. It was a green pheno. Oh my goodness.
Yep,
Huge
I hit
shout
it with
outs.
my Bluetooth, and then I hit it with the blueberry mac muffins and the grape gushers and just all kinds of great stuff that I had. And I've got pictures of it. I've never sent you. I've got pictures of the Bluetooth cross to Dosey.
I'd love to see those. If you're sitting on those seeds, if anyone has any of those seeds that OKCalyxx has sold or given out, pop them. I swear to God, the peach Dosey that I found was like mouth-watering peach saltwater taffy. Like it was saliva-inducing. So yeah, very, very good cut. Can't wait to hang out with you, buddy. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for another awesome episode, and I can't wait to see you again, my friend.
Yes, thank you guys listening. I appreciate y'all listening. Appreciate y'all participating in a community that is mentally helpful and is also organically helpful. You know, we're thinking about your whole person because life matters and it's not that long until we got to go from here. So enjoy your days and get the habits going in your life that bring you joy. And gardening is one of those things, I guarantee you, that will do it. And so garden small, garden big, it doesn't matter. Get a pot and a plant in a window. When you start to help other things, you start to feel so much more helpful to yourself. You think better. You start to think correctly. You don't stay in the foggy dump of depression. You start to have something you come home to look forward to because you're taking care of it and it's responding to your love. And it's a very mentally healthy thing to do to grow. So thank you, Jordan, for letting me talk, man. Everybody, love you guys. Jordan, love you.
Love you too, man. Fantastic. Everybody, OKCalyxx, you know him, you love him. Give it up. I got the soundboard now on the podcast. Let me know what you think, audio listeners. Standing ovation. Thank you so much, OKCalyxx, and thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in. Make sure you check us out. We're at growcast.com. You can find membership. Come on, jump in there. Of course, use code GROWCAST for 10% off. OKCalyxxshop.com. Members get 20% off. Also, check out the Plant Wizard shirts. Wearing this on air right now. Those are available now at growcast.com/shop. I'll see you next time. This is Jordan River and OKCalyxx signing off, telling you to be safe out there, everybody, and stick around with Growcast so you never grow alone. Bye, everybody. That's our show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to OKCalyxx. Thank you, dear listener, for staying tuned to Growcast. Make sure you're subscribed. Go check out our new website. It's growcast.com. It's got everything you need up there. The seeds, the membership, the events, the OKCalyxx Immersive. It's all waiting for you up there at growcast.com. A couple quick shout outs. AC Infinity. Shout out to AC Infinity making the best grow gear in the game. Remember, you can use code GROWCAST15 at acinfinity.com. But with the higher shipping prices right now, with all the trade stuff going on, it's better to go to Amazon. Go to AC Infinity's Amazon page and use code GROWCAST10 on Amazon. That's GROWCAST10 at the checkout page on Amazon. You save on the shipping and you get a savings with that discount code. We're trying to save you the most money, and that's how you can do it right now. So grab what you need. It's AC Infinity Amazon, and use that code GROWCAST10 on Amazon. And a quick shout out to Rooted Leaf Nutrients. If you're not totally satisfied with your bottled nutrients, rootedleaf.com, code GROWCAST for 20% off. You'll never go back. All right, everybody, that's it for today. Stay tuned. Like I said, we're cooking up some big stuff. You know I'm always hard at work behind the scenes. And if you want to see all these episodes on video, go to growcast.com/episodes or find us on your YouTube app. All right, everybody, be safe out there. See you next time. Bye-bye. Dare I ask this? Does Orangalina have a last name?
Jolie.